everyone, welcome to day 2 of Mrs. Lamprin's reading group. Today we're going to be reading this short little mini book on how the memory works. So let's go ahead and begin. So, how memory works. Focus question. How does something become a short-term or long-term memory? Concentrating. These are our vocabulary words, the words that you're going to need to know in here. So we have concentrating, filter, hippocampus, information, mnemonic, related, repeat, retrieve, technology. Here's our table of contents. So chapter 1 is going to be a quick experiment. Chapter 2 will be on types of memory. Chapter 3 will be on memory of the brain. Chapter 4 will be improving memory. Chapter 5 will be mysterious memory. And the last part of the book is the glossary, which is all the terms that we just listed with their definitions. Okay, chapter 1. Let's read the caption at the top. So it says, people's brains are able to block background noise while concentrating on an activity, such as reading. Okay, here we go. Title, A Quick Experiment. Let's do an experiment. Pay attention to what's going on around you for just a moment. What can you see, touch, taste, smell, and hear? After you paid attention to your senses, did you notice anything different? You probably did. That's because our brains are always receiving information from our senses. There is so much information, though, that we can't possibly pay attention to all of it. Indeed, we only remember a very small amount of the information around us. How does memory work? Scientists have some ideas, but many more questions remain. Chapter 2. Types of memory. Scientists often talk about two types of memory, working memory and long-term memory. Working memory is how we deal with information in the moment. The words you're reading right now and the conversation you had with a friend are part of your working memory. So is the music you were listening to on the way to school. We use our working memory most of the time. Okay, let's read our caption at the bottom. Some scientists say that conversations only stay in a person's short-term memory for 15 to 30 seconds. That's on the left. And on the right it says research shows that listening to music helps improve memory, and that's what this child on the right is doing. Short-term memories make up our working memory, which also includes something called executive attention. This is the process of how our brains filter information into short-term memory. Think about the experiment at the beginning of this book. Even when we were sitting quietly, our brains can't handle all the information we receive. Our brains ignore most of the information around us to keep from overloading. The information we keep in our minds at any one time makes up our short-term memory. Most of us can hold around 3 to 4 thoughts in a short-term memory at once. Let's read our caption. It's impossible for people to take in every detail when they're in a crowded, loud place, such as a sports stadium. For example, you might be listening to your teacher and scratch an itch on your arm at the same time. You might think about a few other ideas. Then someone sneezes loudly. What happens? Your attention turns to the person who sneezed. Information only stays in our short-term memory for a few seconds. Once our executive attention gets to work and we start paying attention to something, things change. Our executive attention makes sure that unimportant information doesn't interrupt the things that we are concentrating on. It also makes sure we pay attention to important things such as a sneeze. Your brain may think any loud, sudden noise means danger. If we don't give information attention, it leaves our memory. The more we pay attention to something, the better chance we have to remember it. Okay, let's read our caption up at the top. It says, some scientists say that people's minds wander for about half the time they're awake. Long-term memories function differently from working memories. They remain in our minds even when they're not thinking about them. Scientists think information has to go through 3 steps to become a long-term memory. First, we learn something. Then, we store it. Later, we retrieve it. We can bring back long-term memories when needed. For example, think about your birthday. The date probably came to mind before you even finished reading the sentence. Maybe other memories, such as your birthday parties, also came to mind. You might have even thought about your family. That's because our brains connect different pieces of related information. Here's our caption. People often remember birthdays from past years more clearly than other days from long ago. Memory and the brain. Our brains do not process and store memories in a single area. In fact, we often use many parts of our brains to make and keep memories. New technology lets scientists see what parts of the brain become active when we use different kinds of memory. The hippocampus is an important part of the brain concerning memory. People who have two hippocampi, one on each side of their brain. Scientists aren't exactly sure how hippocampi work, but they turn short-term memories into long-term memories. They also help us retrieve long-term memories. Let's look up at the top at the caption. It says, here's the hippocampus. The word hippocampus comes from the ancient Greek word for horse and sea monster because hippocampus looks like a seahorse. So you can see right here, this is what they're talking about. This little part here is your hippocampus, so it's kind of like a seahorse. At the bottom it says, I remember everything. Can you remember everything you did yesterday? What about what about what you were doing on November 7th, 2 years ago? Some people can remember everything. They can recall what they did and who they were with for almost every day of their life, even as babies. Unlocking the mysteries of the brain. Scientists learned a lot about what the hippocampus does through working with a patient, Henry Molaison, known as HM. He was born with a disease called epilepsy, which affects the brain. Doctors removed part of HM's brain, including the hippocampus, when he was 27 to try to help him. He got better, but he was no longer able to form some types of long-term memories. For example, HM could learn new motor skills such as drawing a star in a mirror or walking with crutches. However, he couldn't remember someone he met minutes before, new words, or songs. In fact, he couldn't remember any new information about himself or his experiences after the age of 16. Scientists studied HM for 55 years before he died in 2008. Much of what we know about how memory works is thanks to studies done on him. In fact, HM is one of the most studied people in the history of medicine. All right, let's read our caption. The brain is made up of neurons that tell your body what to do. Doctors studied the neurons in Henry's brain. Let's read our caption. Playing instruments, riding bicycles, swimming, and dancing are all activities that require muscle memory. Other parts of our brain become active with muscle memory. We form muscle memory when we repeat a movement over and over again. Eventually, we don't even have to think about how to do the movement. We just do it. Losing memory. Damage to the brain can cause people to lose memory. This is called amnesia. They may forget just a few minutes or a long period of time. It depends on how bad the damage is. Sometimes amnesia goes away in days, weeks, or months. Other times, it never goes away. One of the most common diseases that affects memory is called Alzheimer's. People who have Alzheimer's lose their memories over time. Most of the people who have the disease are over the age of 65. Scientists don't know what causes Alzheimer's. Another part of our brain connects feelings to memory. Strong feelings such as happiness, sadness, or pride can make memories last longer. They help make memories clear. While people remember happy memories, they often recall painful or sad memories more clearly, especially ones they'd rather forget. All right, let's read our caption. You probably remember losing your first tooth because you felt strongly in some way, sad, excited, or some other feeling. Look at our caption. Writing down information, especially writing it over and over, like your spelling words, helps people to remember it. Hint, hint. Okay, here we go. Improving memory. Information enters our long-term memory in a few ways. One way is to repeat something over and over. The more you experience something, the better you remember it. It's also true that the longer the period of time over which you repeat something, the better you'll remember it. This is why studying every day helps you to do better in school. You'll remember more if you study for 1 hour a day, 5 days, than 5 hours in one day. You can also learn by using mnemonics, devices that help you remember information. They connect new information to information you already know or that is easy to remember. For example, one example is, never eat soggy waffles. People use this sentence to remember the names or order of the 4 major directions. The first letter of each word is the same as the first letter of north, south, east, and west. You still need to repeat mnemonic devices over and over to remember the connection. However, they help you remember more with less work. Give it a try. Okay, there's our caption. An engineer wears a helmet made of sensors that scan the brain. Mysterious memory. We can learn more about memory every year. New technology helps scientists study our brains in action. Yet scientists still don't really know what memories are or how they are made. They also don't know how memories move from our working memory to our long-term memory. How we retrieve them is also a mystery. Scientists have ideas about how memory works, but it could be many years before we have clear answers to these mysteries. Whoever discovers how memory works will be remembered far into the future. Could it be you? And here's our glossary, going over all the words that we just read. Okay, nice job, boys and girls. Go ahead and complete your comprehension quiz and attach a photo to your Google Classroom assignment. Thanks so much.